Hi, everybody. I'm Dave, and this is Coffee and Capes. And honestly, this is a very special episode of Coffee and Capes. Just like, your favorite TV shows back in the 80s or 90s had a very special episode when they were going to, usually that meant like Michael Keaton was going to drink too much or something. But today's a very special episode. One, we're missing my buddy John, but if you're on YouTube, you can see we've got Ruben Najera. Ruben, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun. Love the show.
Thank you so much for saying that. Really glad that you're a fan. We're so excited. We're gonna do. Ruben does so much. He's a podcaster himself. He's been a professional skateboarder. He's a proprietor of a comic book store, and he's a comic book writer. If you're old like me, you have a particular Beatles song going through your head right now. Comic book writer. Anyway, I am not a singer. So we're going to get into all of that in just a minute. Let me just real quickly run down all of our propers real quick. So obviously you've found us in some way. You can find us in all the podcast places: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, all those things. We'd love to have you connect with us. We're on all the socials. We're coffee_n_capes on Instagram and Twitter. Coffee and Capes on YouTube and Facebook, because we have to be. And our website is coffeeandcapes.com. Or the really fun, weird one is comics.coffee. Like, who knew coffee was a URL that you could do? Like, that's so weird, right? But it works. You can find our stuff there. We're featuring the Trinity. I'm drinking some Trinity right now. It's my favorite of our mediums. It's really good. It's a single origin from South America. The trick is it's a medium. It's single origin, but it's medium and light and dark roasted, and then all put together, so it kind of comes out medium. But it tastes really good. And like we say, it's the best for tackling world-ending events with all the strength of the Boy Scout, the ferocity of the Amazon, and the wits of the detective. And that's not at all a very well-veiled reference, so I'm sure you all get what that's about. Okay, so thanks for being here with us. And oh my gosh, Ruben, so really glad that you reached out and told us all about your Archie comic, and that we have a chance to connect with you this way. I figured, how about, oh, go ahead, man. Yeah.
No, first I was going to say, I don't want to interrupt you when you're going through there, but actually the bag to your guys' coffee looks awesome. I really like it, actually. Yeah, from the logos to the outside, the packaging itself, the presentation is wonderful. I like it. Yeah, it looks great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we worked hard to, and by we I mean mostly John. That's more his bailiwick than mine. But yeah, tried to give it that that look that would help it stand out, but also connect to the geeks that we are and the stuff that we like. So thanks, appreciate that. I figured we start in the present here. Maybe we talk a little bit about Archie Comics, and then hear about all the wide variety of things that you do. Like, my goodness, man, there between podcasting and being a skateboarder and an actor and a producer and owning a comic book store, what don't you do?
Yeah, I do a lot of things.
That's awesome.
I basically, I have one life to live, and I'm just trying to do everything that I absolutely love and fit it into one. It's like I got I got to fill my shopping cart for that one trip to the grocery store. I just got to put everything I need in there. So yeah, I just try to make it happen with everything that's a passion or a dream of mine. I just chase and try to wrangle down till I get it and make it happen to some extent. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to do all the things that I love to do and working really hard at them. There's a lot of work involved. A lot of the things that I do, I kind of like a good analogy is like, you see like an iceberg, right? And like, you only see the top of it, like the peak, but underneath it's like this giant thing, And so there's a lot of work that goes into a lot of things, and people will see the finished product, but there was a lot that went into the journey to get to the position, to get to do all these different things. So
absolutely,
yeah, I do work a lot to make these things happen, but they all become realities one way or another. And I pride myself in pushing myself as well, because nothing is easy. Everything takes a lot of work, but it's just that drive to get up and tell yourself, like, get to it, make it happen. You know what I mean? Hit the deadlines. you know, do the marketing, everything, just get it all done, you know, and learning things, you know, sometimes you have to just, for instance, like websites and things like that.
Oh my gosh, right. Yeah.
Um, you know, basically, like for a lot of things I don't know how to do, I just go to YouTube University, what I call it, and
Yeah,
teach myself and just learn and learn. And you know, a lot of people, you know, they just they don't realize that tool's out there, and as long as you put the effort and you can learn to do different things you might not know how to do, and it's scary to try to learn these things sometimes, but
for sure.
at the end of the day, it just takes you jumping in and learning how to do them, you know. So I, you know, I've done my own sites and learned graphic design and pretty much everything. You just become like this Swiss Army knife of a person in order to be able to run businesses,
Right.
you know what I mean, and understand
Absolutely.
everything else that's behind it, you know. So
Because it's never ending. There's you never it's not a destination I think we ever arrive at. I think
yeah,
it's constantly a journey, right?
it's
And
a
that's probably
journey.
a super overused metaphor, but it's not wrong. Like
Yeah,
things become a cliche because they're so useful, perhaps.
yeah.
Um, well, let's start with the project that got you connected with us, and that is you being a writer on the best Archie comic ever.
Yes,
Like,
yes. So
right down there. I'm sorry, I meant
80.
to ask you this. Is it Nahara or Nahara? How do you say it?
It's the J's like an H. It's like Nahara.
Nahara. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Nahara. Yeah, all good, all good. Yeah. Um, Archie. Wow, like Archie's been around for 80 years now, and
Yeah.
so I mean, to make a long story short, I basically grew up as a kid and like crossing between Mexico and the United States, and this was before there was iPads and iPhones and TV screens on cars and stuff. So
Right.
when I'd get stuck, you know, in the back seat with my, you know, my mom driving in the front because we'd go to visit uncles or aunts or go to the doctor or something like that. Um, you know, you'd be stuck in that line crossing from Mexico to the US for like 3 to 4 hours. I know it sounds insane, but that's how long it takes sometimes just to get across
Sure.
the border. Like you just want to get on the other side of the fence. You're looking at your destination for like 3 or 4 hours,
Yeah.
and like you have to wait in this line to cross. It's a real thing for anyone who hasn't done it. But um, you know, my form of entertainment when I was there was comics. That's what I
Right.
would do. That was my entertainment. And so when we'd go to like you know, the local, you know, shoot, I mean this might sound weird, but there, I don't know if they still exist, but there used to be a place called Kmart when I was a little kid. Uh
Right.
yeah, they had comics at Kmart, and you know, my brother and I would be at the checkout counter, and you know, we didn't grow up very wealthy, so like we just get, you know, those little joys, those little things at the checkout were like,
Sure.
you know, a
Yeah.
big deal to us. And I remember my mom would be like, so pick only one thing, and my brother would pick a candy, and then like the comics are always in the checkout were those little Archie jumbo digests, you know. So
Yes.
they would like
Yes. I remember. Yep.
recycle older stories and put them, but you'd get a really good deal with them because of that. And so
Yeah.
I used to get those. So it was like, oh, the comic, because like I can read it. It like it's not like I would devour it and be gone. I could like read it then. I could read it next week. I could read it the week after. I could make my attempts at being an artist and try to put it against the glass when we're stuck in the car and put a piece of paper and try to trace the drawings, and you know
See,
what I mean?
that's
Try to be
ingenious. Like I definitely was the kid that had like a box of comics in the car in the backseat with me when we
uh-huh.
would go on road trips. So
Yeah.
absolutely, that's what I was doing. But it never occurred to me to try to draw them.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. I'm not like a very good artist, but like I would pick some pages out because I had, you know, some of the couple of jumbos. I was okay. My jumbos were like demolished. I'll be honest. I
Oh
didn't take
yeah,
care of them for condition. I
yeah,
used the heck out of them, and I would take like a little page and put it on the window because the light shining through, and it's hot. Like it's sometimes it'd be like 110 degrees, 120 in the Imperial Valley. So crossing to Mexicali.
good lord.
So like it'd almost be like this light board, but it'd be like the window, you know?
Yeah,
And then I put a piece of paper, and then I just start like sketching with a little pencil that I had from school. And that was like and then when I'd finish, I'd be so stoked. I'd be like, look, I did this, you know, like I was just like sketching Archie characters like that. So it
that's
was
so
pretty
great.
funny. Yeah. So yeah, I just used the heck out of those books, and like so Archie was a big part of me you know, me growing up, you
Sure,
know,
yeah,
and
you've been
getting into
connected to these
comics.
stories for a long time.
Yeah, so to go full circle and like now be writing on an Archie comic, you know what I mean? An original story for Betty and Veronica in my story called Operatives, which is in the best Archie comic ever.
Yep.
And to contribute to the pantheon of Archie stories like that in their history, I mean, for me, it's a dream come true. It's it's a roundabout circle.
Sure, it's so great, and I love. I'm just gonna make use of anybody's on. If anybody's watching on YouTube, you can see the operative. Now, I was wondering, did you get to pick to do a story featuring Betty and Veronica, or how does that work?
So the way it worked was I actually had 6 or 7 pitches for 6 or 7 different stories.
Okay.
And the editor, the awesome editor, our awesome editor, Jamie Lee Rotante, she picked that one. She's like, you know what, go with that one. Let's go with that one. And so that's the one that we went with. So I didn't know who else had what stories. Once we ended up in like our meeting, we had like these corresponding meetings where like the different creators would all be involved,
Sure.
That's when I started to find out, okay, someone, is doing the like a Jughead, the Conan the Barbarian, the version.
Right. Yep.
And then there's like the Archie, the Superman,
yep.
The version. So like that's when I found out like that was, I had the super spy end of it. But I had written numerous stories, and that's the one that we ultimately went with. And then I started chiseling at it after that, and bringing in the new villain that I brought in there. There's a new villain. He's a first appearance in that book.
That's cool. Big Carp. Yeah.
So that's his first appearance, or anyone who collects Archie collectibles and stuff like that. There's a first appearance in this book. It's of a new villain, which you don't really get very many Archie villains. So this is a rare occurrence.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that angle of it.
Yeah. So if you see him later on down the line and he gets bigger and bigger, this will forever always be his first appearances in this book.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I just liked working with like a lot of the creative team. The art on my story operatives was done by Georgia Sposito, and she's well known for like her stuff on Doctor Who, and she has a book out on I think it's on Vaults. She has her own story as well, her own indie created. But yeah, she's known for like her Doctor Who stuff at Titan. And she did the art on my story for the Betty and Veronica operatives.
Yeah, I liked how so if you guys haven't seen the comic, well, what are you waiting for? Go get it. But I like how it's 3 stories, as we kind of mentioned. There's 3 stories in the larger book, and each story has its own writer and its own artist.
Yeah, we're all teams.
Yeah. So I like that each story kind of has its own look.
Yeah.
And I thought that that the art in yours, it matches well. I don't know. Look, I'm not an art critic. I have 0 eye for this, but just the intuition of it is that the art matches well with the style of story you were telling.
Yeah, I think so too. I like it a lot. Yeah, when I was seeing Georgia turn in the pages before they were filled in with color, I loved it. I didn't have anything to say. I was like, looks good to me. Like I was really easy. I was just like, hey, that looks great. One of the first panels I saw was this one of Veronica kicking one of the goons, and I was like, oh gosh, score, that's a win right there.
It's so good. It's so good. And I gotta say, I like that that in the end Veronica has more takedowns than Betty. Like she wins the contest, right? Like
yeah.
They didn't exactly say what the contest or what the prize for that contest was, but I think Veronica wins.
I'll give you a little snippet. There actually is. This is the further end to that. I actually wrote like they settled the score.
Okay.
But, I think ultimately it when it was sent to editing, it was narrowed down and chopped down because for if you have the comic, there's only so many pages that you get to tell the story.
Sure.
But believe me, my story definitely had a resolution to that. So the hopes are later on maybe you might see these characters again, and if
that
they do,
I will question.
Definitely I will definitely circle back around and give some cool funny reference to this one, so but yeah, they definitely had a score settled in the original script, so
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I hope that that comes to fruition at some point, that we get to see you guys again, because this was a one shot. Right?
Yeah, this is a one shot. So that's what's fun about this too, is it's really easy to pick up. You don't have to feel like you have to
read 80 years of comics in order to catch up.
Yeah. You can pick this right up. It's almost like a multiverse story, right? It's like in a different world kind of thing. Yeah. So it's Archie like in a multiverse. So you could pick it up even if you don't know the characters. It's totally cool. You'll enjoy it. It's fun.
Right.
I mean, the first story in the book is, if you see the cover, you see like Archie as like,
Yeah, Archie.
pure heart. Yeah, like a
Yep,
Superman kind of character.
Right.
And so that one's done by Tim Seeley and Fred Van Lent. So that's a superstar team already in itself, And then Aubrey Sitterson and Jed Daugherty did the Jughead the Bulgarian story. And then Georgia Sposito and myself did the Betty and Veronica operatives story. And I called it operatives because it takes place in an opera and they're spies, so they're operatives,
Yeah,
what I mean? So,
it's all that, dude. And that's, that's really indicative of the story, that like the puns are there and it's great. I love it.
There's a lot of puns.
Yeah.
So I just had fun with it. Yeah. And
which, my goodness, like how sometimes I feel like that's a piece that's missing in so many of our mainstream comics, the fun part.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're all so, well, I gotta have the 6-issue arc so that I can put it into the trade. And so that like, and it's all got to connect and it's all got to be, everybody's got to be serious. And there's a place for that. And I enjoy reading that too. But it really, honestly, Ruben, like the word I kept coming back to when I read this book was fun. It's just fun.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't mean that. And I don't mean to say just fun as in like, it's not anything else, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to diminish it by saying it's only fun, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lightness to it and airiness that can be a book that you can just enjoy and not feel like I've got to understand 75 different references to things. Yeah,
you're exactly right. Yeah. And that's the awesomeness about this book, and it's anyone can pick it up. And then like for a start, if it's your first Archie comic, and you never had one, I mean, what a good one to pick up. The best Archie comic ever,
right.
Boom. Like it's there it is, So
absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely adored working on it. And the team behind everything, Jamie Lee, Mike, you know what I mean? The one of the presidents of the company. Everyone's awesome. My artist, Georgia, wonderful job. Our colorists who killed it, they absolutely did an amazing job with the colors on the book. That cover, the Tim Seeley cover, I love that cover. The Tom Whalen cover. I actually own this is the Tim Seeley cover. I actually own the actual thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this is the original art. I bought it from from Tim Seeley's art dealer because I was like, Tim, who has this? And then he gave me a heads up, and then I was like, all right, I'm buying it. Like that's my first published Archie work, so I'm gonna frame this.
Man, you gotta have that. That's
so Tim Seeley original, pretty awesome.
That is really, really cool.
Yeah,
can you give us a little I don't know, insight, a little like peek behind the curtain, how the sausage is made? Like, what's the timeline for for that whole process?
A lot of people aren't aware of how much work it takes to make a comic book. There's so many things that happen and different deadlines and stuff. So obviously, like, I write the script first, right? But after I write the script, I mean, it gets handed off to, the interior artist, and then the interior artist did not do the colors. So she has to finish that and then hand it to who's going to put the colors in, right? And then that's just our story. Now you got 3 other teams. And so, and then our editor has to edit everyone, has to go through everything, spell check, and make sure the stories fit a line, cut down, shorten the stories if they're too long sometimes, because the page count and everyone's stories, you have to make it work. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is to fit it into the book, to hit that, amount of pages that are in the book. And it's just a balancing act. And then to do all that, to get it on time, to send it out to the printer, and then hope that the printer makes no errors, you know what I mean? And gets it back to you on time, or delivers it to Diamond for distribution,
Yeah, right.
It is a large cycle, and that's just one book, So there's a lot that goes into it. For me, I did have a deadline, but it was never an issue, because the moment. So the thing about me is, and I don't think everyone else did this, but I am since I've been writing independent comics for quite some time, for years, but this is my first, this is a big deal to me, because this is my first published Archie work, and I'm a big fan of Archie. So the second I got in, I believe I overwrote scripts. I actually have other scripts done when usually, they'll write one or two and that'll be their pitch. Okay, this is kind of where we're going. I actually said, could I just write a script to all of them, all the different books that were slated?
Oh yeah.
And I did that. And that's why I have so many scripts, in hopes that one of them's going to hit no matter what, so
Sure.
which this is the one that they went with. But I wrote a lot of different scripts, so I went all out. I mean, for a good chunk of time, I was sleeping like 2 hours a night or something. I was just writing, pumping out scripts, doing my own corrections and stuff like that, making sure everything was formatted correctly, and leaving and then going back and making sure I left some leeway for like the interior artist as well, because I didn't want to over conduct the script too much either, so I had to like
Sure. Yeah.
go back and kind of like chisel it out, kind of like you're making like a sculpture or something. But yeah, so I just overworked on purpose so that I would make sure one of them made it no matter what,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were not
So-
throwing away your shot, if I can reference one of my other
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different
exactly.
medium that I enjoy a lot.
I'm making it count, I'm making
yeah,
it count.
yeah.
So, that there's some other, like, there's this really fun Jughead story I wrote, and that'd be sweet if someday we come back to it. But I was really stoked on that one. It had to do with him and him being abducted. Like, that's all I'll say, but it's
Okay,
super funny.
okay.
It's hilarious. I really love that one. And I wrote a bunch of other scripts too, right? But yeah, this is the one that they ended up going with. And so yeah, so my deadlines were not an issue. I hit them on point. I was like way in advance. I think based on some of the emails, I know I was pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I could tell, like, I was on point. So
Yeah. They weren't
and
waiting for
everything-
you, maybe others, but not
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was really on point. I came correct. Like I knew what it
Well, on a
what it
project
took.
like that, when you're like, I mean, you're into a lot of other things, so I don't want to imply that this was like your one shot at, but like, here's your first shot at writing an Archie comic. You don't want to be the one that's holding things up.
Yeah, and you know what else though too is I come from a different background than probably most people. The thing with me is, like you mentioned earlier, I actually own a comic book store who's twice Eisner nominated. We actually got our second Eisner nomination. So I've run a store for 7 years, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
I deal with like packing, shipping. We have online sales.
Yeah.
I also run a convention in our county. I run the only comic convention in our county, which we're going to be bringing it back in 2023.
Nice.
So when it comes to like business and getting things done and those kinds of details and that kind of philosophy of being on point, it's a part of me.
Sure.
It's this is not, the writing is something that's a dream that I do, and I'm doing it right now. That's my gig right now. But I have a bunch of other things that I do already,
Yeah.
that are revenue streams that the train's running on them and they're going. So I just gotta like kind of check back if there's any little issues with anything. I like to tell people, like, when you have a bunch of multiple businesses and things like that, you're always just kind of like, you're always just putting out little fires. Little things will
Sure,
happen. You
right.
just kind of put them out and you just kind of keep going. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so I just had this mentality about when I come into everything else, I'm not afraid, because I handle so many other things that are so much like gnarlier and more hectic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That
Right.
like, it's like, I could do this, and I'll get it done. And when I say I'm going to get it done, I always get it done.
That's
Yeah.
it's a great quality to have, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just forgive me, I'm just really curious about the process of this. So like, when you're writing your script,
Uh-huh.
are you making notes either in your head or literally like making notes about what you think, what you have in mind for it to look like, or is that all up to the artist to create based on your words? How's that work?
Yeah. So this kind of harkens back to what I said a little while ago, where I do write everything down in like detail like that, everything from like, for instance, here's an example, like, Veronica's dress is going to be like a like that reddish color that you see,
Mhm.
it's like a maroon kind of, and then Betty's was going to be blue. So like I put that in the
Okay.
writing. So
Yeah.
I get into details like that. Big Carp, I got into detail how he was gonna look. They're like, he's like a mob boss, but he's slimy. He's like a fishy mob boss.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have this fish hook insignia, and all his goons are gonna have him, and he's gonna be larger. Like a very mob bossy character. Like, so I go into all these kinds of little details on all these things on the character side of it. Now,
Okay.
in terms of like panels and stuff, like, she's going to be kicking him here, and they're going to pour the drink here and do this. Like, I used to be more in controlling of that, but I'll usually put it down first. And then when I go, because I go over there's numerous scripts, like I'll go over the script numerous times, and there'll be different drafts of it,
Of course,
until I hit the final one. And by the time I hit the final one, I kind of like skim some of the fat off of it, you know what I mean, so to speak. And so I do that on purpose, so that, like, instead of being so exact, like this needs to be in this panel, I might open up and I might give some suggestions, like, but if you think you can show this in a half-page spread or something, go for it. I'll kind of put some little like notes like that, and then Georgia kind of takes over. And I kind of learned that a lot of those methods and stuff like that. I actually I did like online courses at the Kubert School, like when the pandemic first hit. Obviously I'm in California. I didn't go out to Jersey, but I was taking these like online courses, and I learned a lot from there, actually, on how to, like, because I was already writing the scripts, but when you're learning from other individuals who, for instance, like my teacher was Amy Chu. She was wonderful.
Wow.
She's worked like on Red Sonja and Poison Ivy and stuff like that, and it really helped to talk, to learn from her. It really helped a lot.
Yeah.
So and you take different things from different people. I did some scripts for a character called PandaCon, which is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle character.
Okay.
And so there's actually an animated show being done of that right now. There's a pilot that's done, but he's a character from like the Ninja Turtle world. And the most recent stories for that character, I wrote those. And they were in one of the Imperial Valley conventions, comic conventions, exclusive books. And also in that process, going back and forth with the creators, that's their IP. So I learned, to put detail in, but also to leave some spots for like the artist Dave Garcia to go in and do his thing. So it's kind of like a collaborative effort. I know I'm a writer, but at the same time, I like to say that the interior artists are kind of writers too, and they're not appreciated in that regard, but they really are a lot of times, because they have to convey what you're saying, and they're telling the story, or so to speak, they're also the storytellers, right?
Absolutely.
So they're like, they're building that plot, because what I might have said would take 4 panels, they might be able to do it in 2, if they feel they can do it based on their skill, and they could fit more dialogue on there, or maybe they can think of an action where the characters are doing that portrays, maybe knocks out 2 of the panels, and it saves the 2 panels, and they only have to do it in 1. They're like, oh, I can do this in 1. I have an original IP right now that I'm doing. It's like my first superhero team that I'm creating.
Okay.
And pretty soon I'll be able to announce that as well. But my artist, we just went over this. I literally just told him, like, look, I have this idea for what's going to happen in these couple panels in this intro of these pages. And then we just kind of scratched and we're like, you know what? Can you just take up the first and second page and just do a giant. So like for instance, so there's these people that are crossing the border, right? In my story, they're crossing from Mexico to the US, but they're coming through the New River, which is the most polluted river in the world, right? And so instead of conveying a bunch of panels, I told them draw the river at night, right? And just put the dialogue when they're on like these, because they're floating through the water. The water is like super toxic. So they'll be on these raft things,
Sure. Yeah.
And so he starts to put the dialogue in, and he just got this beautiful image. Instead of doing a bunch of like panels, like usual, I just had to think outside the box. And I was like, cartoon, because my artist name is El Cartoon, which is a cool nickname. Yes.
It is. Yeah.
He just did this beautiful full page spread, 2 pages full spread, and put the dialogue in. Everyone's on the raft in the middle, and the outside, because he did that, he got to put all these details like the trash that's hitting the canal walls, and like the bushes that are all grimy and like the moon in the background, you know, and like got to go into the details of it. So when someone opens the book, instead of on the panels, they're like, whoa, you know,
just
it's
just
like
hits him right from the beginning. That
exactly. And so that's like involving him as like a storyteller as well,
yeah,
you know. So that happens a lot in a lot of things, you know, like it's, and I think I absolutely love that. Like it's the collaboration between the creators, you know. But you know, yeah, I
right,
used to, you know, I just, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is like, I just take little things from that I've learned throughout the years from different, you know, mentors and stuff like that in writing,
sure,
and then incorporate some things that I think that come from my mind that are original like that, like the full landscape, and just kind of being like, you know what, just have at it kind of thing, you know. As long as this dialogue is said, I don't really have to direct where the panels should go, you know.
right,
Just get it in there somehow. And if the artist is good enough, they can pull it off. Sometimes they need all the direction, you know what I mean? But you know, sometimes they can just knock it out and it just turns out even cooler, you know. So yeah, the medium, there's just so many possibilities, you know.
well, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, right, exactly. And what that makes me think of is how, you know, here in this place we talk a lot about community and how we think that's important, and that that's at the heart of what geek culture in general is in comics. And here's what I hear, part of what I hear you saying is community is at the heart of the very how the product gets made.
Yeah.
Like, not only is that what it's about, it's how it gets made. Like, it's just a reminder that daggone, we all need each other, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, definitely. We really are. You know, I comics is a tough, you know, industry to break into. It really is. But I mean, because of how hard it is, and I understand how, because there was people in the beginning that, you know, I would reach out to, like, can you, you know, hey, how do I, you know, get in this, and you know what I mean, some
Yeah,
assistance and this and so forth, from people that were already in the industry. I'm not going to say like any names or anything, but it was surprising how many people didn't respond, but you know, they
yeah,
saw it or didn't want
yeah,
to help.
yeah.
Maybe they're just looking out for themselves and they don't want
Right.
you to take their job or their gig or whatever. This is a real thing. I'm just being honest.
Sure. Yeah. No. Of
Um,
course.
and like it's unfortunate. And for anyone listening here, I just want you all to know that, you know, I am you. I am just like all of you. Like, I had dreams of breaking in, and you know, I didn't know where to start. I was trying to figure it all out. Like I said, I was making indie comics way before. I've been making indie books for like 10 years, you know,
Wow.
just
Yeah.
independent published stuff that I'd put out, and at conventions and stuff. Like, I'd have the booth for like my store at like shows,
Hmm.
and like I'd literally like be selling my indie comics that I made there, you know? So
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
was already like selling them and getting my work out there, you know? Um, and to go from that to learning the proper ways to do everything to now, you know, being published by Archie and having a lot of other cool things coming from some other you know, big names, like you know, it's been a long process,
For
and
sure.
it's been tough. And anyone that's listening out there, I mean, if you ever need advice or help, you know, just reach out. I'll help you. I am not like many of the others. I am literally the people. We are the people. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
understand.
You're
You
not
know,
going
I
to big
come
time
from
us.
yeah, no way. Even as a shop owner, trust me. Like, some
Yeah.
people trip out. They come to my store and like I am not like other shop owners either, because at the end of the day, I also collect too. So I get it.
Yeah.
So like, you'd be surprised. I actually enjoy when sometimes someone comes in and they're like, "Yeah, 2 for $50," and like we start haggling, and it's a store and it's not like a convention, and then I
Yeah.
just humor it. I was like, all right, let's work something out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm all game. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm good with it. I'm not like your, you know, like your usual other yeah, like I said, I am you, and we are the people, you know. So
That's
yeah, if anyone
good.
needs help, I'm not kidding. Reach out. Social media, you know, Instagram, Twitter. I'm at Ruben Najera. Doesn't get any easier than that. It's just my name. I was lucky enough to get my name like way the heck back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, just reach out. I'm always willing to help you, give you some advice on what to do, recommendations and stuff like that, because I know how tough it is, and I know how vicious it can be, and how most people don't really want to help, you know what I mean, or give
Right.
the
Right.
secrets or advice on what to do. So yeah, I'm always willing to help. I understand. I completely understand. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Do you have a dream job in comics?
I mean, writing for Archie's was one of them on the list already for
Nice.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to go around. I mean, I used to read these when I was in the back of the car, like,
Right. Right.
it's so trippy. So from reading the stories to writing the stories, wow. But I mean, there's so many other, there's other publishers I would love to work with. One of the big dreams I had was putting out my own IP, which I'm already doing. You know what I
That's so
mean?
cool.
The
Yeah.
script is done. I finished that a while back. I'm just going back and forth with my artist now. He's about like halfway done. And then when he gets a little further, we'll talk about colors. And fortunately for me, since I had a store that we've been around for 7 years, I have all these amazing cover artists that are super well known in comics that a lot of them I've become friends with. And some of them will do covers for me for my book. So that'll help even more in the process when we do the pitching to, like, the different publishers, whether it be the different publishers in comics. If you guys know who the big ones are, who we would pitch to. So
right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But then, I mean, it's also, I also grew up reading a lot of Marvel stuff. So I mean, to write something for Marvel someday would be an absolute joy. I mean, my first physical comic ever that was just like handed down to me was a Spider-Man comic. It was a Spectacular Spider-Man comic that my grandma had on the washer or dryer in the garage. And to this day, I don't know whose it was. It was just, there's a Spider-Man comic. And I was like, can I have this? She's like, yeah, you can have it. I don't even know whose it was. It was just there. And it was like half, like one of the staples was detached. And
right. Yeah.
So that was my first comic, was a Spider-Man comic. You know what I mean? So
that's so cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's it'd be great to do something with Marvel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I also love DC, and I grew up reading like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Wow.
I grew up, yeah. So like I have a lot of different things that I like. I'm a big Ninja Turtle fan. You know what I mean? I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan. That's my favorite movie as a kid growing up, and to this day, that's like even as an adult, like the first Ninja Turtles film, the live action one.
Right. Yeah.
That's like my comfort food movie. Like that's the movie I don't mind playing over and over again in the background. I actually own some props from that movie. I own
no way.
Yeah. So
okay.
He's in a crate right now, unfortunately. One of these days, if you guys follow me like on social media, you'll see me post a picture of it eventually. But so I have Leonardo, like the full costume, the only one that exists in the world. Yeah. And
really?
that used to belong, it used to belong to Kevin Eastman. Yeah. If you like type in like Tom Spina, he does like restoration. He's a really famous prop restore master. And the Leonardo that you see on his site, I own that right now. I'm the new owner of it, at least. But that's in a crate. It's so big that I have to get like one of those museum see-through, yeah, I need to get one of those, and to get one in that size is difficult.
Sure.
They have to custom make it. So
some
like
sort of display case.
Yeah. And so I don't want to take the costume out of the crate, the prop out of the crate, because the foam latex and everything in it, like the regular air around you know what I mean? Basically, when you get a lot of these props, you basically you have a responsibility now, because you're the caretaker. So it's only going to survive as long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be really careful with that one. But yeah, I have that, and I have like Donatello's head from the third movie. Yeah, I collect like a lot of random props. It's pretty
cool.
I love doing that. I just
yeah. I like that word caretaker. Like, I think that's a good way to think of our relationship to comics and geek culture, right?
Yeah.
That if you're a writer, you're for at least this one shot, you got to be the caretaker of Betty and Veronica and Archie.
Yeah. That's such a really beautiful way to think about it, Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I imagine most writers feel that way, but I think that's probably a good way to think of it. And
yeah, I would hope so. I mean, if I'm being honest, like sometimes I feel like some creators that get into positions, they get handed IPs, and no, not sometimes. I know this is real, but like they don't appreciate what they got handed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Like they get a character and they're like, I don't really care. And it's like, but for somebody else, that would be a dream.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
For somebody else, that'd be like, they're everything. They know everything about that character. You know what I mean? But they just happened to hand it to the wrong person to write, who didn't really care for it 100%. but because it's so said publisher or whatever, like
Yeah.
they're gonna take the gig or whatever. But someone who genuinely loved the character, who's also writing or is an artist, would have adored that situation, would have treated it better and appreciated it more for the rest of their life, you know. I see that happen a lot, and it's unfortunate. And sometimes I wonder, like, can they just play switcheroos with something? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Get
know what I
everybody in a
mean? 'Cause
room and be like, all right, which one are you gonna which character are you gonna take the best care of? All right, that's the one we're gonna give you.
yeah, because yeah, man, I've talked to some creators that don't really appreciate, don't understand or appreciate what they really, the positions they're in, you know.
Sure.
So
I get it.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's a real thing, and it's, you know, and sometimes you get the opposite. You get people that absolutely adore who they're working with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I think it happens with some of the more random characters. You know, like if someone gets Spider-Man or Batman, most people are fans, so they're like, "Oh, it's a joy." But when
Right.
they get random obscure characters, you know what I mean, that like people are still super fans of, but maybe they're not a fan of.
Yeah.
That always kind of like stabs a little. It's like, oh, this could have been better with this person, or sometimes like even it's like you yourself, you're like, oh, I would love to work on that. They're not like, you know what I mean? They don't even care that, like, you know, like as much, you know, it just
Right.
means more to someone, but they were just in the right place at the right time in that position.
They got the
you know?
gig. Yeah.
They got the gig. Yeah. So I see that happen a lot too. And I don't think people talk about that, but it's a real thing, you know?
It
Yeah.
really
And
is.
that goes for
Yeah.
both artist and writer, you know? So
That's true. Yeah. I wasn't thinking artist, but absolutely that's true too. Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
For all
you're
you know,
you
yeah. Yeah. It's a reality.
yeah. I was thinking, so you have an actual brick and mortar comic book store, right? Called
Yeah.
MetaHumans.
Yeah. Metahumans Comics. We've been around for 7 years now. We got nominated for our second Spirit of Eisner Award this past year. So I actually attended the Eisners for the first time in my life, which was
Oh,
really,
nice.
really cool. I had never actually been there. The first time we got nominated for the Eisner was right when the pandemic hit. So I didn't get to go to the event. You know what I mean? And for those not familiar, the Eisners Oscars of comic books, you know? So
Right.
it's a really big deal and a really big show. So yeah, so I was there like in the tables because I had a nomination. I actually, when we were sitting there, I already knew that we didn't win, but I was just honored that we were even nominated. So
That's awesome.
that was really cool. But you know, to sit there and then you have, like, for instance, at one point, the presenters, it was like Frank Miller and Neil Gaiman, and they're walking up to present an award. And it's like, how does it get better than this?
Right.
What in the world? Like Neil Gaiman and Frank Miller presenting an award, like right in front of me. Like, it's so, you know what I mean? It's so random. Like,
It's
you know,
surreal.
someone can watch.
Yeah.
To me, they're a bigger deal than if I went to the real Oscars and you had two Hollywood actors there presenting.
100%.
Dude, I'd rather be at the Eisners with
Right.
Frank Miller and Neil Gaiman in front of me, and like, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's amazing. So
That's really cool.
that was a joy just to be there and to be nominated. So but yeah, 7 years we've been going. The only brick and mortar store in our county. At this point, we're gonna be the longest running comic store pretty soon that's ever existed here. So yeah, so before I opened the store, there was a 10-year drought where there was no comic book store in our county. There's nothing.
That's bananas. Can't have
It's
that.
super bananas. Yeah. So that was my reason for opening it. So
find a niche, man. Find the
yeah.
it
was like
the market inefficiency or whatever.
Yeah, how does this not exist? You know, like it's so yeah. So I started it up. First I started off in a city called Calexico, which is right on the border of Mexicali, and then I ended up moving to El Centro, to a different location, which now we're in our third location right now. Yeah, we're here in the city of El Centro now. Store exclusive variants with some of like the biggest publishers, you know.
Nice.
So I mean, we've done stuff with we did a Spider-Man book with David Nakayama doing the cover. We did a Joseph Michael Linsner cover on a Batman 100.
Wow.
Dave Garcia did our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover. He's the one that did the cover for the old Archie TMNTs that I grew up. To see TMNT and Archie, like me,
just keeps coming back to that.
It keeps coming back to it. I've been a fan of all. I'm genuine when I say all that stuff.
Absolutely.
It really is.
No, you didn't go and make your own acetate cover and get everybody in trouble, did you?
No, no, no. Wow, that is boggling. I saw that. I saw some videos on that whole debacle, and that is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially as a store owner and understanding, like, because I mean, I have back stock of some covers, but I would never like, I would never do that to anybody.
Right.
That's such a, that's wow, wow. Yeah, when I saw that, that blew my mind. I was like, man, they, first off, I thought like, why are people falling for it? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the main thing, because I've gone and bought exclusives at conventions, and like I would have caught that right away. I was like, this already exists. It's just the same. Like, it's not even like it's like a foil cover where like they reprinted, like they just added something in the front. You know what I mean? It's so
Right.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see how they would catch that. Yeah. But
Sorry. Didn't mean to send us down that rabbit hole, but
yeah, yeah. No, but that is
gosh.
crazy though. That is crazy though. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've
John spent more
a,
than enough time talking about that in our last episode. So
yeah, but
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, the funniest thing about that though, what you're talking about, is the troll bidding. Did you see that? Like how high people were bidding. I'm curious, like, did those people actually pay what they were troll bidding? They were like in the thousands.
That's
like
crazy.
thousands, like ridiculous, like
Come on.
I think one of them reached like 5 figures or something. I was like, there's no way this
Good
person
Lord.
shell out
now.
that, you know? Yeah. Yeah, so crazy. It's not even, I mean, I would rather buy the real Ultimate Fallout than at that point. Like, why are you buying that? Just go buy the real one. Like, you're already at that point, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Like, if you're hitting like 10 grand on something like that, I would have bought like first appearance of Red Sonja and a 9.8, and I would have bought like a first appearance of Black Cat and a 9.8. Like, you know, I would have invested in some other
absolutely.
or something, you know,
or first appearance of Big Carp. Like, you don't even need 10 figures. You can get first appearance of Big Carp.
First appearance of Big Carp, you can go get it graded. I'll sign it for free. Yeah. You can get a CGC Signature Series yellow label. You know what I mean? We'll do that. Yeah.
So do you have a cast of wacky regulars at MetaHumans Comics? And are we more likely to see them made into a sitcom or into a comic book?
You know what's funny about that? That's because this is like kind of funny you say that. We've thought about shooting a show there. Like a show, like an actual, like a not with our real customers, but like two things. First off, I was always a really big fan of Comic Book Men, the show, you know? So I thought it'd be kind of funny to do like a series where we shot something in there. Keep in mind, this is all before pandemic. So when pandemic hit, a lot of things got scratched like that. But they were funny thoughts that we had, like, you know, we have a space, and I have a background with film and independent films. I've done some stuff. Like I've done some indie films for the Jim Henson Company. I did a fan film for Star Wars, and Lucasfilm lent me the music. So I've had experience with like doing like legitimately doing films. We actually, for anyone who's watching, if you're a Star Wars fan, there's a short film. It's a Star Wars film. It made it in the Star Wars in Europe. They had like the Star Wars celebration, right? And they had the film festival, and it got honorable mention. It's called Desert Duty. So Desert Duty. So if you want to YouTube that, it's got like, I don't know, it's got a ton of views on YouTube, but it's just a funny story about a stormtrooper, sand trooper named Cooper, the sand trooper, who can't get anything right. Like, they give him a task and he just can't complete it. You know what I mean?
Wait, how would you tell Cooper from every other stormtrooper at that point, though?
Yeah, so it's kind of the whole joke of it. You just watch it, you'll get what I'm saying. It's funny. And like, we shot it like so like professionally looking, you know what I mean? But it's actually just like a comedy, really. But yeah, so we did that. Like, I've always done independent films like that. I've always liked doing that, and I've shot some pilots for stuff. I had a background as a stuntman for a while. After my professional skateboarding stuff, I got hired to do a bunch of stunt work and things. I've done a lot of random things. So I've had a lot of experience with it. So I've always been involved with those things. So we've thought about doing something at the store. But maybe we'll bring that back someday. You know what I mean? I don't know if it would be scripted or if it would just be more of like a Comic Book Men kind of thing, where like maybe we do have some real customers. Like, we're gonna sell you this collection. Let's see what's in it. Or I don't know. We gotta brainstorm that. But that would be fun, since we do have a location. You know?
Yeah, that's really neat. That's cool, man. Yeah, and gosh, skateboarding. Like, we didn't even touch on your skateboarding. Like, you were a professional skateboarder for years, right? No.
For many years, my 20s, you know, I had all kinds of endorsements and sponsors.
Now, what
I mean,
everyone wants to know is when you're doing this whole thing with Power Bar and you got your name and image on a Power Bar,
yeah.
did you get to meet Blake Griffin?
Yes, yeah. So we were at the meeting together, and you know, it's funny. This is before he was like, before he like became he was just a rookie at the
Oh,
time.
wow.
So
Okay.
so
Yeah.
he hadn't like done things in his career, you know, all the slam dunking and all those
Right.
things.
Right.
At one point, I had different sponsors that endorsed other people. So like, you know, I've been around like Shaquille O'Neal and Lamar Odom, and I was at Drew Brees and like all these other athletes that I've met from sponsors that I had, because
Yeah.
I'm a skateboarder, but they would sponsor athletes. So then when they had like these like parties, these meetings, these celebrations and things, I would get invited and they'd be invited and I'd be there, and you'd kind of just like, hey, what's up? And some of them you just get a photo with, some of you just shake their hand. Blake I actually talked to. He's a really cool guy. He's a funny dude. He likes to game and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like he's like a legitimate, like he's like
He seems
like a
like that
nerd
type.
himself. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's genuine. Yeah, he's a cool, really cool dude. Probably
That's
one of the
cool.
coolest ones. But yeah, we had those Power Bar boxes, and which is the equivalent of like having a Wheaties box, right? Being a Wheaties box or something. And I was really young at the time. I'm gonna be straight honest. Like at the time, I signed for like a payout, right, for the first year. And like I was, so when I moved, when I was getting into skateboarding, I moved out to Fullerton to be in like the Orange County area where the industry is happening, the contests and stuff and the sponsors.
Okay.
And I lived in my car. So I left with like $10 in my name. I lived in my car and I just chased the dream. Like, you know what I mean? And I worked at this deck manufacturing plant where we made skateboard decks. And on the weekends, I would go enter the skate contests and stuff like that. And so I was just hungrier than everybody else. The people that were local were like, I lost, who cares? For me, it was like, I got to win. You know what I mean? Like, that's my next meal.
You're driven.
You know what I mean? This is my future. So I went in there with like eyes of the tiger, dude. You know what I mean? Like there was no way I wasn't going to make it. So, and I did, I got sponsors. I ended up like basically not having to pay for any of the equipment. I started getting, you know, checks. Next thing you know, I'm doing skate demos. For touring for different companies, and then they turned me professional. And the Power Bar thing, you know, because I was so broke, I remember the first thing I signed off on for the first year of like my Power Bar boxes, all I got was $5,000. That's all I got the first year.
Come on.
Yeah, because my mistake,
because they took advantage of you because they could, because you were young and you didn't know.
Yes. Yeah. And so here's the crazy thing though, I could have signed for like, it was a little less than 5% of the overall percentage of sales that I could have signed for, which means like I would have made like millions of dollars because they sold like 5 point something million units or something. Instead, I took the cash out up front on that first year. Yeah. And I bought a camera, this nice camera, like I got an apartment and stuff like that. And like now I wasn't living in my car. So like, yeah, like I feel like I definitely made mistakes like that early on skating because I was super young. I was straight out of high school, basically. You know what I mean? Like / early college, junior college. But I mean, learning from that and that lesson, I would get other sponsors and I would not make that mistake. Sure. So I did well for myself through other time. But yeah, that first big deal was pretty wild. Because even I didn't understand the scope of how big that was when I got it. Because I remember I went to Target to go buy milk just to eat cereal in like the new apartment that I had just gotten. And I was like, I got my apartment now, you know, and pretty soon I was going to buy a car. And like, I didn't have those things growing up, you know, because I didn't grow up very, you know, with many things. So like, I remember being there to get cereal and I was standing there with milk for my cereal. And I was holding my milk. And in front of me, there was a woman, and in the baby seat where you usually seat the baby in those red Target carts, there was no baby. It was just more groceries. But there was 3 boxes and one of them was facing me and it was the Power Bar box, but it was backwards. So it literally had me on it with my name. And I was staring at it like, I was like, what?
Is this real?
I was like, whoa. And then that's when it hit me. It wasn't the fact that like, oh, I'm on the Power Bar, because I knew I was going to be on one. Right.
But then there it is in the real world.
Yeah. Well, the thing that hit me, Dave, was that like this woman, I'm right behind her. I'm on the box. She doesn't know that I'm on the box. She doesn't care. It doesn't matter. She's buying it because the flavor that I got for my signature box, they're like Snickers, right? Which is it's super it's going to sell no matter what. And
Yeah.
that is what hit me. It was like, oh
Mm.
no. It was like, I could have got like the percentage, you know, I should have signed the other deal. Cause it's like, because for some reason I was thinking like, well, then I'm this new, you know, upcoming pro skater guy. They don't know my name. You know what I mean? I'm not like
Sure.
Tony Hawk or anything like that, you know? So who's going to buy all those boxes at the time? Right? I was thinking, but like when I saw her with that in my cart, it hit me, and it was like, it doesn't matter. Like you don't, if you're going to go buy Wheaties and stuff like that, you're going to go buy Wheaties because you want your Wheaties, unless you really
Right.
collect the boxes.
Right,
But
right,
at the end
right.
of the day, you're like, I
Right.
don't really care if this Olympic athlete's on. I just need my Wheaties, and this is the one. They're just on the box. I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah.
So like, it was like, dude, this thing's gonna sell no matter what, you know. And so that's what hit me. It
Yeah.
wasn't the fact that I was on it because I knew that was coming. It was the fact that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
And so I had to be more intelligent from there on with all the deals and understand the scope of the things that they were putting me on, the things that I was signing, the things that I was, you know.
Yeah.
So I think I just started to treat everything a lot different. You know, I even have a younger brother who's a pro skater right now, and he's on Adidas, and he has a signature shoe on Adidas.
Sweet.
So if you like type in my last name and put Adidas, you'll find him. His name's Diego. Super good. I started him skating when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
So
yeah.
But you know, my mistakes, he didn't have to make them. You know what I mean? Because I learned from my
you could
mistakes.
teach him from what you
Yeah,
learned.
I was the crash test dummy. You know what I mean? Like I learned all that. I said, don't do this, do this. Don't do this, do this.
And unfortunately, even companies that are your sponsors aren't always looking out for you.
No, they're not. They're not.
Looking out for them.
Yeah. So I remember some of the sponsors from my brother would get mad at me, like, why is he here? You know what I mean? Like, because they knew I was gonna like the deal. It's like, well, I'm looking out for him. Like, so don't try to pull no funny business, you know, because yeah, they do get taken advantage of, and that happens like in like a lot of fields. I hear that happening like in the music industry too, and in like all kinds of things like that. So, but yeah, it was a live and learn process, but it's been wild. It's been a wild ride, you know. I've been through a lot. Yeah.
Ruben, do you mind if I ask you a bit of a self-serving question? How did you get connected? How did you find us? How did you find Coffee and Capes?
I just podcasts. So basically, like I just type in comic book podcasts. Actually, if you do a Google search, you guys will pop up, and there's just a long list of different comic book related podcasts. And I just listen to a lot of different shows. Like I said, I'm always working on something, and so podcasts are a beautiful thing because you don't have to be watching them, even if like you guys have the video format as well. But like, even if you just let the video format play, you're just listening to it. You know what I mean? You don't have to like watch it. You can absorb the information. And so I don't know if it's like I must have some sort, I know I have like a form of like OCD, but I must have some form of ADHD too. But I always need to be like learning. So if it's like too quiet, I can't, you know what I mean? It's a part of me. I always need to be multitasking. So even if I'm like packing orders or putting something together, I'm listening to podcasts, you know what I mean? I'm absorbing information, and I want to listen to stuff that I enjoy in a field that I enjoy, in a work that I enjoy, you know. A lot of times I learn a lot of my news from all of your guys' shows, you know. So things that are going on, the ongoings, like that's how I learn about it and become informed about it sometimes, you know. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, I'm so glad you found us and that you reached out and we could do this. What's where can both of our listeners, where can they find you? What else you got coming? I know you've got a podcast now, right? Passions Personified. Is that the name of it?
Yeah. So Passions Personified is my podcast. Actually, it's funny. So we have a Ghostbuster logo right here. My next guest is from the Ghostbusters movie. So that's kind of fun. That's why I had that out right now. Cause we actually just shot the episode. 2 days ago. I'm losing track of time here. We just shot the episode. So there's a little hint. If you're listening, episode 6 will be someone from Ghostbusters. But yeah, you can find it on Spotify, Apple, all the podcasts, same places you find your podcast. You know, it's all on there. And on my show, basically it's just about chasing your dreams and making them into realities, you know what I mean? Your passions, and just hearing people who made their passions a reality. That's really what it is. It's just a positive experience. But yeah, Passions Personified, you can look it up. And then my website is rubennajera.com, www.rubennajera.com. And on social media, Instagram, Twitter, it's the same thing. My name, Ruben Najera, RUBENNAJERA. the best Archie comic ever is still available at a lot of different stores. So
Right. Yeah.
if you haven't gotten it, yeah,
Get
cover
yourself
A.
an Archie greatest comic, the best comic ever, the best
Yeah,
Archie comic ever, because it really is the best
yeah,
Archie comic ever.
covers A and B.
Yeah, I liked this cover. I mean, I like the other one's cool too, but I don't know. I liked the homage to Black Widow there.
Yeah, that Tom Whalen's great. Tom Whalen, actually, the one who did that cover, he does a lot of the packaging art for like Hasbro's toys, like the boxes for the Hasbro figures. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff for that. He's done a lot of packaging art, which is really sweet because I collect also collectibles and stuff. So it's funny because I already had products that had his artwork on it, and then when I found out he was doing the cover B for the Archie, I was like, dude, what are the odds? Like, that's so cool. So the way Tom, I already knew who he was, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty trippy to get to work with some of these people, and you know what I mean? And I'm just really honored. And to everyone listening out there, you know, yeah, if there's something you really want to do, I mean, it doesn't even have to be comics, you know what I mean? But just really, you know, pursue the passions that you want to have in life. You can literally have like a regular job and then be like on like your as like your hobby. You're actually like working towards your passion, right? And you never know, you can make that happen. You know, you can make it happen, or you can do them both simultaneously. And sometimes a lot of people want to start hobbies, but they don't get into them, or pursue their passions, they don't get into them because they seem daunting or difficult. But at the end of the day, really, it's like once you start doing something, it gets easier. It seems really daunting at first, but once you start doing it, it's not as bad. It's almost like working out or something. Like you don't want to like lift the weights, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do, but like you feel so good afterwards. You know what I mean? And once you start doing it, you're like, all right, I'm already in this. I'm not going to stop after I'm halfway done. It's that beginning part that sucks. You know?
Absolutely. That was John and I with this podcast. We talked about it literally for 3 years before we finally made it happen.
And you did it. And that's a beautiful thing, is doing your thing. That's why I like to people, just like do your thing, you know? And like sometimes doing your thing, like there's things that I do. Like for instance, I'll give an example. Like I'm making a lot of music right now. Pretty soon I'll probably be posting like music videos and stuff like that. I could care less if I become like some big musician star or whatever. I could care less. I just love playing music so much. And I've done it for so long, since I was a little kid. It's actually the thing I've done the longest, that like, I just want to be able to put out like an album so that like when I'm like 80 or 90, I look back and I was like, look, that was my album at that point in time. And I could care less if like if I get like a one-hit wonder or something, fantastic. You know what I mean? But like, if not, I'm still a winner because I did the thing. You're going to regret not doing your thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, don't base it on like success, like you're the New York Times bestseller or whatever it is. Like, base it on doing your thing and what you really want to do, so that you don't regret it later, not having done the thing you love to do, you know, just like you guys did the podcast, and just like anyone who's listening who gets inspired to go, you know, do what they really love to do.
And especially, especially a creative project. Like, my goodness, the world needs more creative people. We need, we need more art and more, just more creation, more goodness in the world. And I really think every piece of art, whatever, and in the broadest sense of the term, art brings beauty and goodness to the world. Like if you can embody that thing, just what you're talking about with the passions, if you can embody your passion in whatever way that is, the universe is better off for it. Hopefully
it is,
you know, unless it's some hate-filled piece of garbage, in which case don't do it. But
that's
but for the most part, honestly, you know, I mean, I'm only partially kidding, but for the most part, my experience is folks that aren't interested in bringing goodness into the world aren't very creative and don't have much to do with art. So it's kind of they kind of self-select out.
I always feel like you know, not enough schools implement art and music like they should. Can you imagine that? There's so many kids that might be their thing. And if you just start them, that early, and they're drawing or coloring or playing instruments, they're going to be so, it's like that 10,000 hours that you have to take before you become professional or good at something. Could you imagine You'd have like all these incredible like artists, you know, to like, I think it really needs to be implemented more, you know, it's really important.
That's a whole other podcast on its own.
Yeah.
But the self-defeating nature of eliminating the fine arts from school systems is, it's truly a shame. But,
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Man, well, this has been great. I'm so glad that that you would come on. I really, really appreciate you. I'd be happy to keep talking about it. We kept you for like an hour now. No. And man, this is so good, Ruben. Really appreciate you. Anything else? So best Archie comic ever, passions personified, anywhere else you want to direct folks?
That's pretty much it. I mean, my website, rubenajera.com. You can stay tuned there. I'm actually, as of last night, I started a Substack. So a lot of stories and scripts and things like that are unreleased, I'm going to start to put them on there. So for anyone who wants to get like and actually that's a good place for like if you want help with some of your own writing, I'm always willing to help. You can reach out to me from there as well. But I just started that, so it's not assembled fully yet.
Yeah.
But I will be putting things on there, and exclusive. I'll have like exclusive stories, comics, PDFs. I'll put full PDFs of independent comics I had back then that no one's ever seen. I'll just put the whole thing on there. Exclusive podcast episodes, all kinds of things like that. I'll end up putting it on there, but you could probably find that link from my rubenajera.com. Eventually there'll be like, you know, the Substack Ruben Najera basically, because I got my name on that one as well, but just starting that one, so it doesn't look complete yet, but it will eventually. I promise.
Dude, you do everything. You got your hands in everything. I'm so impressed.
I just try, you know, if it's there and I haven't, I gotta go for it, you know? Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, friends, thanks for sticking with us in this, for being with us for this wonderful, special, very special episode, episode 44 of Coffee and Capes. We'd love to hear from you about it. Go check out Ruben's stuff. Leave us a comment on all the places. Gosh, why do we always have to go through these things? I don't know. Everybody knows them, but it's what we do, right? It's part of the gig, I guess. That we'd love to hear your comments on Ruben and what you think about the Archie book and anything else of his that you're checking out. Let us know. Instagram, Twitter, email supers at coffeeandcapes.com, our website, coffeeandcapes.com, all the things. All right. I'm bad at the promotion part. It's not what I enjoy, but I know it's an important part of what we do. So Ruben, thank you so much. This is truly a treat.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to following you and all the things, all the like million things you got going on, and seeing where you pop up next in the world.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. We'll see when I get my original IP. I'll see if I get maybe we'll do a part 2, and I'll get my interior artist and we'll come in and do like a duo or something. You know,
I would no joke. I would truly love that.
Yeah,
that would be a lot of fun.
And then you'd really get to hear how we both coordinated and went back and forth. We can show some exclusive images and stuff. Yeah, I think there's something we can do in the future when we finish that, you know? Yeah.
I like it. I'm gonna hold you to that.
Awesome.
I have your information. I can't.
Yes, that will be fun.
We're gonna stay in touch. I would love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Ruben, thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time. Till next time, everybody.